Hi, I'm Deborah Gray, and this is my son Lawrence. And we're going to talk about a subject that we both know a lot about, which is bullying and depression. Because both of us, when we were younger, were bullied,
Extensively.
and we both feel that it was at least one of the triggers for our depression. And so, when I say bullying, I just want to clarify. I don't just mean physical bullying. I also mean teasing, the things that other kids do to isolate a child and to single them out and basically um, you know cause these feelings of isolation and depression and loneliness and self-esteem problems. So I guess we'll just go in chronological order. So when I was about 7, my family moved to a town that was very, very sports oriented, and I
Were a
was
nerd.
we called it a bookworm, and also I was shy and introverted, and I was perfectly happy just being left alone and reading during recess, and um, but uh, you know, unfortunately, they didn't just leave me alone. So I started getting teased and picked on a lot, and um, just to use an example of something that happened, um, I was in 5th grade, so we would change rooms. So we had a homeroom, and then we'd go to different rooms to learn different subjects. And we had we had those desks that lift up, and well, it was a while ago. So
Old.
I was in one of my classes, and the teacher said to me, uh, "Deborah, can you come up here?" And all the kids started kind of like snickering, and I didn't know what was going on. But so I went up, and she said, loudly enough for everyone to hear, um, I I hear you have some things in your desk. And I just looked at her blankly, like I have no idea
Ugh, I've
what
heard this story.
yeah
It's
what you're
fucking.
talking about. And I don't remember quite how she said it, but she said basically that she heard I had been picking my nose and putting the dried snot in my desk. And so I was, obviously, as you can imagine,
Mortified.
I hadn't been doing that. What was is that some kid had taken rubber cement and made those little
Yeah.
things that look like boogers and put them on my desk when I wasn't there. And so I was completely humiliated, and I started, when you're going to cry and the corner of your mouth starts turning down and you can't stop it.
Yeah.
It's like it's you're not even controlling it. And I was so embarrassed. But the thing is that looking back, what I kind of resent is, that she didn't have to handle it that way. She could have just said to me quietly, "Deborah, can you just stay after class?" and handled it differently. And this is one of the problems I've seen over the years, also with your experience, was that the
Mm.
teachers, some teachers can be incredibly insensitive. I mean, she had to obviously know that I was kind of the odd person out, and I was, you know, uh, um, she had to know I was being picked on and excluded and everything. So, I mean, she just made it worse. And the thing was, she actually was a nice teacher. But, I mean, how can you be so clueless? So, I mean, this stuff went on literally through, I'd say, the 8th grade, probably. And there was still, in like 7th and 8th grade, there was still this one girl who was really popular, who kept teasing me and bullying me, and um, And then I remember one time a friend of hers, our lockers were near to each other. A friend of hers said, "Jennifer, why don't you just leave her alone?" And I think, at that point, her friend was maturing. I'm not sure if she ever did, but, it's, it's amazing that it goes on. And I didn't do anything to offend anyone. I mean, I wasn't, I had ADHD, but I was very, very quiet. It was not, no one ever knew I had ADHD because the depression, I think, kept me, I wasn't hyper, and girls tend to be less hyper than boys, but I wasn't hurting anyone. I just wanted to be, left alone to do my own thing. The one time I can remember, although I may have blocked some of this stuff out, that there was actually, I was physically bullied, was there was a girl who sat behind me on the bus. Like every day she would take her math book, which was like really thick, and just slam it on top of my head a few times. And again, there you had a bus driver, I'm sure he saw it. As far as I remember, he never stopped it. Finally, I told my parents. My mom wrote a letter to her parents. Her parents made her write an apology letter. And like 2 days later, she started slamming her book on top of my head again. But eventually, I don't know, I kind of like joined a group of friends, and that transitioned into another group of friends. And I guess people got a little older, and it, I'd say like the last 4 years of school, there really wasn't a problem. So why don't we talk about your experience?
Well, mine was different in a way because I have always, throughout elementary school, I was the tallest kid, and you know what? I still managed to get bullied. Ha ha! It's ironic, isn't it? So basically, I mean, throughout school and even now, I am, how do I say, a bit large, and I was constantly made fun of for that. Sometimes even by my own friends.
For being overweight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to them, between me and my friends, it was a joking manner. We were like, hey, you may be overweight, but, we still love you, man. But there were people who genuinely just wanted to make me feel bad. And a lot of the time, the bullying stemmed from people knowing that I instinctively would use my strength that came with my size to react. So they would goad me into reacting because they knew I'd be physical, and then they would completely shirk the blame onto me and say that I started it, I was the bad guy. Even, like, I remember an occasion where a kid was throwing a basketball at my head over and over and over, and I threw it back once, and he goes to the teacher, starts screaming about it, and I get in trouble for it.
So the problem is that the adults always assumed that Lawrence had to be the one who was doing the bullying or the teasing or whatever.
Because,
just
big,
because
tall
of
kids.
his size. Yeah.
And you know what? It sucked. Because I remember an occasion also where I was sitting on a bench and a kid accidentally tripped over my legs. I apologize. I apologized. He apologized. He was trying to say, hey, man, no, I wasn't looking. The teacher comes over and says, Lawrence, what is wrong with you?
I remember that.
And I say, it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. And the kid says, no, it wasn't his fault. And the teacher's like, no, don't worry. I got this. By the way, Lawrence, no recess. And you know what?
Yeah.
That kind of thing happens so many times.
Yeah.
And it eventually got me to instill this pattern of blaming myself for every single thing that happens. And I still carry that pattern, and it sucks.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
That was annoying.
And you know what? I mean, my depression really started going towards the end of school, like severe depression. I felt very isolated because I felt like even my friends didn't really like me, and I was kind of just there. Yeah, and it sucked. It really sucked. And the depression, as I said, really started hitting towards the end of school. Like fifth, sixth grade. Well, beginning of sixth is when it really started going downhill. And by the end of sixth, I was miserable. I felt awful. And I was going to a new school, and you know what? I thought, this is a second chance for me. I'm going to be happy. And I was. I fell in with a group of friends in seventh grade, and I was really happy. And then eighth grade, I find another group of friends. One of my closest friends, uh, basically just tells me never want to talk to you again. And then, throughout the years, I've cycled through, people that I've been close to, and yeah, I still get picked on at school. I mean, like, I've started giving up on it, because whatever happens, happens. I can't change that. I can't change people and what they do.
Well, and that's the thing.
Just do nothing, and when the teacher sees them, they're screwed.
Well, that's the thing is clearly it seems like there's not much has changed in 40, 50 years, whatever.
Nope, not at all.
And I mean, it seems like schools and teachers and parents don't really know how to handle this any better than they did when I was a kid. So obviously, if you are being physically bullied, then that's something that you need to try to talk to your parents in the school about. And if you don't get anywhere with that, then I would suggest you start taking some self-defense classes, literal self-defense, where you can, block attacks and things like that. Because, you are talking about your health. If it's not physical, then what you really need to do is inoculate yourself, basically. So you need to tell your parents that you would like to have therapy. You want to make sure that what you're hearing from other people, that you don't start internalizing it. So that
Don't
means,
do what I did.
yeah, so that means, especially if you have depression, then it's more likely you'll internalize it. So you turn it in on yourself, and basically you start believing what they're saying about you. You start believing you're worthless, and you're weird, and you start believing a lot of things they say. And so therapy, especially the cognitive behavioral therapy, will help you to deflect or turn around those thoughts so that you don't start really believing it. And because that's what can, you could either trigger depression or exacerbate depression. So you want to basically inoculate yourself. Also, if you are a complete loner like I was, start making friends, even if you feel like you don't need friends.
That's easier said than done, but
I know
it's still worth trying.
Oh yeah, it's easier said than done. But the thing is that you can always find something in common with people, and especially if you do things like you join clubs at school, or the Scouts, or some other Lawrence just joined the Boy Scouts, or
a little late, but
or some other better late than never, or some other ways to meet people, and then you're more likely to have people or people are less likely to pick on you. When you're a loner, it's much easier to pick on you. So those are our suggestions, and we'd like to hear from you if you want to leave some comments about your experience, or suggestions on what people can do, because this is a really tough subject. No one has found a perfect way to handle this, and we've obviously got a long way to go on it. And that's it. See you next time.